Hi everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Stack with CTMS. My name is Leah Aceto. I'm our sales and marketing coordinator and our moderator for today. Next to me, we have our CTO, Josh Chris, and our Chief Experience Officer, Justin Smilek. Today, we're going to be discussing We've Seen It All, 40 plus years of IT experience in 30 minutes or less. Our first question. What was the IT industry like when you both first started, and how has it changed since then?
Well, when I first started in IT, it was mostly about personal computers. Everybody wanted to get a personal computer and get out of the mainframe world where everybody had dumb terminals everywhere. And security was kind of an afterthought because everybody just wanted to be faster. And obviously, since then, it's evolved a little bit.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, security was more about physical security and keeping things under lock and key than network security. Back then they didn't even have switches. There were still hubs and all kinds of technology that most IT people today wouldn't have even heard of. We were having a conversation with one of our senior engineers about what a hub was, and none of our new network engineers had even heard of it or seen it or knew what it did. So, it's been a big evolve from, printers being the most important thing to now, things are sent via PDF and stuff like that. So, it's definitely evolved from more of a hardware based to a more of a network based, and security going from, physical security to electronic security.
Yeah, I don't even think cybersecurity was a term when I
No,
started. I don't
no.
think it was even exist. Cyber wasn't really even a thing because the internet was just, the dot-com bubble was just starting to blow up.
Yeah, for sure.
Great. Awesome. So my next question is, what is the wildest thing that has happened during your career so far?
Ones we're allowed to talk about.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What's the wildest thing? Well, I guess I could speak to a couple things. Nobody likes finding out that they don't have backups properly done the day after their whole system goes down and needs backups. We've had new clients that have brought us onto the table because their old company or their old IT staff did not properly ensure that the backups that house all their data, which is the backstop of your business. If your business operations in production fail, and you don't have your data off-site somewhere, stored somewhere, it's a recipe for disaster. Not only that, the time to recover from a hack now or anything else like that, it'll take forever. It could be days, weeks, months. As where if you have a proper backup protocol in place, you're able to get back in action a lot quicker.
Yeah, I would say piggybacking off of that, we've had servers where 5 hard drives went bad in the server at the same time, and it's not something you wish on your worst enemy, but when it happens, if you don't have very solid backups, that return to work is going to be immense. We've seen people that have set up public wireless and it wasn't actually public, and we've been able to do an assessment and find out that we can access all kinds of private data. A lot of, like Justin said, a lot of the things that we've come across we can't really talk about that we've seen, but those are some of the ones that I feel are pretty safe to kind of go over. But it's really just getting everybody to understand that whether they like it or not, cybersecurity, IT, all these things are a necessary part of life now, and they were kind of a vendor or an afterthought before, and now it's one of their primary focuses when you're running a business.
Yeah, and obviously we can't get into specifics, but I will just say that if something's free, you're paying for it somehow.
Right.
So watch what you download, watch what is freeware, think about information that you're putting into things. There's a lot of different things in there, and people always fall into that trap. That's why we concentrate a lot on education and training. So the biggest weakness in anybody's business is the people and properly training them. It's not the technology necessarily.
Yeah, an investment in the training of people. It's not just, hey, did we send out our phishing attempt simulation software? It's getting people to think properly. It's about not punishing people when they do make a mistake and just educating them and making them feel like, hey, if I did click on that phishing email, it's okay for me to report that. And that's exactly what we want them to do. We don't want you to hide behind, oh, I clicked on it and I hope nothing happens.
You know, just to piggyback off that one more time, it just spurred my brain a little bit. I was at a client yesterday, and we were talking. They were pleased as punch. They said, you know, this is great. Our cybersecurity is taken care of. We're going to be educating them on AI. But one thing the owner said to me is, hey, I know you guys said you'll take care of it, but do you want everybody sending you? Because one of the guys, the principal, he sends us an email if he thinks it's suspicious, and we're able to vet it for him, let him know if it's a real you know, phishing attempt or if it's a false positive or something like that. And we were like, no. We want you to send us because it gives us visibility into what's going on. And it's going to take a lot more of our time, and it's going to cost you downtime if you don't send that in and it
Right.
goes through.
Yeah, absolutely.
So after 40 plus years in the industry, what would you say are the biggest lessons that you've learned from working with these businesses?
I would say probably just understanding don't make assumptions for anything. You know, don't assume your backups are working. Don't assume that people are doing their training. Don't assume that everybody knows to save their data to their, you know, OneDrive or their Google Drive. You know, anytime you allow for assumptions, those are the times that always come back and bite you. So, you know, if you think your team is doing network assessments, if you think you're auditing your backups, somebody needs to look at that and check it, and not just in a cursory manner. You know, are you restoring a file to make sure that that backup works? Are you looking at what people's response rate is for the phishing simulations? Are you actually going and having conversations with the people that are failing and trying to coach them and make them, you know, make them understand and get better at how to handle that kind of stuff? You know, that to me is probably the biggest challenge that we're going to face, is that people aspect, like Justin said, and just overcoming that. And every time IT security figures out a way to prevent something, the attackers figure out a better way to do it. So it's that cat and mouse game, and just the investment in training and getting people to understand what they need to do from that.
Yeah, exactly. And from a sales perspective and experience for the client's perspective, it's a very, very old saying, but God gave you 2 ears and one mouth. Listen twice more effectively than you're going to speak. You know, when I first started, it was all about what can I sell them? What can I sell? Like, here's this PC, here's this server, here's that. And now I don't really care what the products are I'm selling. I'm more listening to try to provide an adequate solution to the problem they're having.
For sure, for sure. What are businesses still getting wrong when it comes to technology, cybersecurity, and automation?
Right now, in this exact moment, I would focus more on you know, their AI strategy. You know, it's a big buzzword. Obviously, it's a big part of everything you hear nowadays, and I think people are too far on one end of the spectrum or the other. You know, it's obviously a divisive topic, but you know, I don't want to use anything with AI. AI is terrible. It's costing people, you know, the world is coming to an end because of it. And then there's the people that, you know, they can't go 5 minutes without, you know, sending a message in their chat GPT or something like that. So, you know, I think if everybody realizes that it's an asset, it's a tool. You know, I was around for the dawn of Google. I know you were too. You know, we used to send the "let me Google that for you" links out through the office when people wouldn't Google something first. But you know, we've witnessed this before, and you know, it's not anything new. I'm sure, you know, even back to days of bulletin boards and stuff like that, like there's always going to be evolution in the technology, but you know, understanding it's a tool, use it where it's effective, you know, use it for numbers crunching, use it for design presentations, you know, don't use it for making decisions on, you know, critical business processes and systems and people and things like that. You know, I think, you know, everybody needs to kind of come to the middle ground on that and understand, you know, where the benefit comes from and kind of, you know, let's use it for what it's good at, but it doesn't have to be the worst thing ever.
Yeah, like the humans still are the owners of the contextual evidence to bring in empathy and some kind of emotional background to whatever the problem or the solution is, right? So like, if not to beat on anybody that is that counts numbers for a living. But when you're only looking at the numbers, you don't understand the true story. You understand profitability, you understand margin, you understand what's our balance sheet, things like that. You don't understand how that affects the ecosystem of your business. And another thing is people, especially like, you know, as you grow a business and you get further and further away from the nitty gritty of like doing the work, it's important that you understand the processes throughout your business, because you can't even really get into an AI or automation project if you don't even understand in your own business how you get from point A to point Z.
What is one situation you've seen repeatedly that businesses should learn from?
You want to take the first crack at this one?
There's a lot. Businesses are going to continue to make mistakes. We all do. We make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. You know, learning from your mistakes is a big thing, but understanding why you made the mistake is bigger. So if you don't understand why, what led you, whether it was an emotional decision or a numbers decision or a just spur of the moment something happened decision, the more you understand why you make your decisions, the better you are to make better decisions in the future. And it has nothing really to do with technology, but it's just an overall, like, that's the kind of thing you should look at, you know, and don't get sold by every single buzzword that gets there, because to me, you know, AI and automation now is the new cloud, you know, and where I used to have people like literally ask me, like, where is it at? Up in the sky, like up there? And obviously AI and automation is the new frontier, but in reality, it's programming, it's programmatical, it's just a faster way of doing it. It's taking multiple technologies, shoving them into one to create a faster result. And it has the whole world to learn from right now, because that's how fast data is traveling.
Yeah, and I mean, I would be kind of on the, not necessarily the opposite side of that, but, you know, evolving technology and understanding that what worked even maybe 3 years ago and 5 years ago and 7 years ago isn't going to work today. You know, that's one of the areas AI has made it way easier for somebody to, you know, think they're a hacker or, you know,
Started MSP.
right, started like anything and not provide quality services and things like that. So, you know, I think, you know, just because a process worked for you for the last 5 years, you know, we have to be reevaluating as business owners and you know, practitioners that MFA isn't the silver bullet anymore like it used to be. Like there's a lot of other tools and tactics that you need to put in place to keep your business secure. You know, processes and you know, understanding that automation is another option. You know, we have a lot of ways to make things more efficient. It's not getting rid of people, it's allowing them to do more important and more decision making rather than doing the mundane task to gather information. And just kind of evolving in that aspect is where I see, you know, a really large gain for business owners and businesses in general.
Yeah, slowing it down a little bit and understanding that at the end of the day, it's still all about people.
Right.
We're not robots. We're all humans, and I'm sure everybody wants other humans to succeed as well. So the minute you start discounting the human aspect in your business, I think is when your time's limited.
Yeah, for sure. Similarly, what do you think businesses need to start preparing for now?
I think they need to be prepared for specifically cybersecurity, like understanding that no longer are your phishing attacks going to be broken English. No longer is it going to be somebody calling your team and pretending to be IT and they have a specific accent or something like that. It's you know, with the tools that are out there with, you know, AI voice and, you know, the ability to just type in something and say, craft me a phishing email that looks like this, you know, that is tailored towards a car dealership or a law firm, you know, make this look like it came from the executive. Here's their website. Here's all their information. You know, it's really dangerous. And you know, I think that's what everybody has to be prepared for. They have to be prepared that these threats are going to look like normal everyday business stuff. And that's why they can't take their cybersecurity teams for granted. They can't take, you know, where they're spending their money for granted when it comes to that. You know, you can almost not have too much cybersecurity at this point. You know, there's even AI poisoning attacks and just things that nobody would have even thought about two years ago that we have to be cognizant of. So,
yeah, absolutely. And also just, it's good to invest in your people. I think as this AI and automation grow even more, it's going to become more important to have that relationship with people, and FaceTime is so important. You know, even like when you're doing a Teams meeting or a Zoom meeting or something like that, you could fake that. I mean, there's people, you know, not to get into too much things, but there's people doing other websites that are completely changing their look, their sex, and their voice and everything, and getting jobs, doing all these things. So that face-to-face is going to become, I think, invaluable.
Yeah, I agree with that a ton. You know, the relationship aspect of things, and you know, I can tell you from personal experience. You know, if I get a phone call and I answer, and I can tell it's an AI bot, I'm probably not listening to that. You know, so just
Unless you want to play.
right. Yeah, I want to poke at it and, you know, eat
you
up
can
all their
break it.
tokens. Can you solve Riemann's hypothesis for me or something? Like, yeah, sure. But I'm not going to sit there and listen to it tell me how I should use them as a vendor for something I already have. So, you know, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've covered a lot of ground today, over 40 plus years. I'm sure there's even more we could speak about. But out of everything we've discussed, if a business owner could take away one lesson from all of the years of IT experience that you both have, what would it be?
Go ahead.
I think I'll go back to what I said before. It's now more important than ever to listen to people, listen to them, and actually not just listen, but hear them and understand what they're saying, because that can help you dictate what you can bring in technology-wise, what can adapt to your current workforce and your workflow. If you're not listening and you're just barking orders like some dictator, culture is going to go where culture goes after that.
Yeah, and you know, as a CTO, it's really just kind of circling back as, you know, to what you said. People are the asset, and that's super important. But it's having those people understand how to use the technology properly, appropriately, and effectively. You know, they're never going to get away from making good decisions from human pattern recognition and things like that. So, you know, that's kind of the biggest takeaway for me is empowering people, leveraging the tools that we have now to make even better decisions and more accurate and more efficient.
Yep, that's why we have a frontal lobe. You know, it's you don't have to not everything has to be based on probability. It can
Right.
be based on your gut. You know, as some people like said, it's my gut telling me this. That nobody knows what that really means, but it's because of your collective experience in life. That's what your gut is.
Right.
So it's not always bad to like ignore that.
Awesome. Well, thank you both so much.
Yeah.
That's all for today. Thanks for watching Beyond the Stack, and
Yeah,
we hope
thanks.
to see you on the next one.
Bye.
Bye.